You were going to introduce me.
Yeah.
Oh,
Hi, my name is Greg Dixon, and I'm here today with Margo Arrowsmith. And today, many of us, as we get older and our parents get older or siblings get older, we need to think about what we're going to do when we need to either move out of our home or find some kind of other living situation to accommodate our various health changes, health needs. And Margo is an expert. She's been in the business for a long time, and she's going to talk to us today about the three most important things to consider. Margo, you want to introduce yourself a bit more and see where we go.
sure. Hi, everybody. Again, as Greg said, I'm Margo Arrowsmith. I have been a therapist for 40 years, and in the last 10 of those, I've been working mostly with older people. And combine that with my grand old age of 75, I feel like it's time that I start sharing my knowledge with people. So, what I'm going to tell you about today is the three most important things that you need to know when you are deciding where you want to live after retirement or even before retirement, but after that age of 65. Number one, the most important thing is to know yourself as you are now. Do not rely on ideas you had about retirement when you were young. 30-year-olds see 60-year-olds as ancient, and at 30, you may have planted the seed that you will be in a home. For example, challenge what you thought then. Do not base your choices on what your younger self thought or what others think. Your doctor doesn't know what you want either, nor does your family or your friends, as well meaning as they may all be. Those well meaning people are often basing their ideas on social views of what aging is, and marketers are willing to keep that going. To challenge preconceived notions, whether yours or others, take a little while to think about what you really want in life. There are many ways to do that. I mean, you can go into a lengthy therapy, which, as a therapist of 40 years, I think is a really good idea. But for many reasons, however, there are easier ways to discover what you really want in your retirement. And I want to give you a little example before I go on to number two about how our younger selves can affect our older selves. When I was in my late 20s, I had a job in, it was called an intermediate care center. Today, it would probably be an assisted living. And I had these thoughts of me and my friends being 60 and how we were going to be in this place and we were going to be running it. I mean, we were going to be young, but I still had this notion we were going to be there. Now, I actively challenge that because sometimes a thought gets lodged into our unconscious and it stays there and then it pops out and we don't even know that that's what's happening. But I challenged it. So now today I'm still living at home and perfectly happy. And I know that there are many other things that many of the rest of you would like to do. So again, find one of those ways that will help you challenge the notions that you've had much of your life, and certainly challenge the notions that your family, friends, doctors, and salespeople have about where you should be. Okay, number two is you want to look clearly at all the options, from staying home to a 55 plus to living on a cruise ship. Know as much as possible about all of the options. When you make that decision, know the pros and cons of each general option. And then when you've decided what category you think you want to be in, know what questions to ask salespeople. Know what you might encounter, whether it's someone selling safety devices for your home so that you can stay there in your retirement, or selling a CCRC, otherwise known as a continuing care residential community. But you need to know what it is you want when you are facing any of these decisions. And let me explain a little further. For example, in the area of independent, assisted living, the variations are dizzying. Some are very strict about the qualifications for entering, and others aren't. Some are basically hybrids where there are people who could live in either of the two. You want to know what to ask because that may or may not matter to you, but you still want to have the information so that you can make a choice as to whether or not it matters to you that there are people who are less functional than you are, or people who are more functional than you are. If it doesn't matter, great. If it matters, you have to know. One of the questions you have to ask. Also, the other thing about what functioning levels required for a mission is that if it matters to you how capable your neighbors are, you need to be very specific about these questions. And it may sound like you're not being nice, but you're talking about a place where you conceivably could live for the rest of your life. It's not a time to be nice, it's a time to ask very specific questions. You also need to know if you could stay on there at the possibility that you or your spouse begins to have some problems. Are there rules about that? Or will they just, if you went in good shape, will they let you stay if you or your spouse starts to decline a little bit? You need to know that. There are so many other questions, things that you may not even think about automatically, but are central to your retirement happiness. Now, number 3, and this is very important, and I'm going to give you a story about a client of mine who didn't do this, and it's just tragic what she's going through now. You need to get everything in writing and looked over by an attorney. Preferably they write it all down, all the promises that were made to you, get written down, and then they're taken to your attorney, who must look it over before you sign. Don't make a move, even in your own home, until it's in writing and your attorney has assured you, whatever that means. Now, that doesn't mean that every time an electrician comes to your house, you have to get it all in writing, because that's not going to happen. For one thing, it'd be nice. But it does mean that if you're going to have someone come in and do some overhauling, for instance, you might want to put in an elevator in your house so that you don't have to climb up and down stairs anymore. Anything that has some sort of major event, get it in writing and make sure that your attorney says, yes, what you think that says is what it says, and then sign it. Now, you also, excuse me, I'm currently seeing a woman who forgot to do that, and this is so sad. Now, she and her husband were living a great life. They had one house here in the city that I live in, and they had a beach house on the coast. Happy as clams. They loved it. On a whim almost, they put down a small deposit with a CCRC, not thinking much about it. However, one day her husband had a major brain incident. She described it to me. It was awful. It was almost like an aneurysm, except that there was actual blood that you could see. I mean, it was just horrific. Naturally, I mean, she was panicked, and because of that, they didn't know what was going to happen to him. They put down hundreds of thousands of dollars for admittance into this CCRC, thinking that it would all be taken care of, and they moved in. Okay, so after they moved in, they also, in addition to hundreds of thousands of dollars, they pay $5,500 a month for an apartment and 2 meals a day. Now, that's great. For some people. I mean, not everybody, but there are people who would really love it. And in her situation, it wasn't something she'd thought about, which is why they didn't get things in writing until the panic came, and then they jumped in. Okay. Now, they have over $1,700,000 saved, which sounds like an awful lot of money to me, and I think it sounds like a lot of money to most people. However, her husband's mental condition has been declining. She's managed to keep him in their independent living apartment. She takes care of him. She does come to visit me in the office and leaves him there. It's not gotten that bad yet, but she's very worried about it, that it's going to get worse. It may not. We're hoping for the best. However, if her husband is told to go into memory care, which they can do, that $5,500 a month is going to go up to $18,000 a month. And at first I thought, well, you'll be able to do that. But then we sat and figured it out in my office.
Mhm.
If they have to pay $18,000 a month, their $1,700,000 will be gone in 8 years. Now, CCRCs are known. I mean, this is one of the things they say is they tell people that after the money is gone, then they use that hundred thousands of dollars of deposit that comes next. And then if that disappears, that they will keep people no matter what. However, she didn't get that in writing. And she has talked with people where she lives, and she can't find a case where anybody has actually been kept after they've run out of money. She's terrified. I mean, she is really terrified, understandably so. Now, I hope that she's wrong. I hope that they will keep these people even if their money runs out. However, she doesn't have it in writing. She has searched through her papers. She wants to see it in writing. So even if it's true, it's worrying her so much because she can't see it in writing. Never, especially with that amount of money involved and something that's that permanent, never move anywhere without getting everything in writing. Now, there's another small issue in her building, which actually might be more concerning, or at least as concerning to a lot of people. She has a neighbor, an older woman, I think she's also in her 80s, who is a gluten-free vegan. You don't find many of those in that generation, but there she is. And so for breakfast, all she eats is fresh fruit, which was always there for breakfast. Recently, she was taken to the office and told she couldn't have that much fruit. She had to stop eating so much fruit. Now, remember, this woman paid hundreds of thousands of dollars to get in and was paying at least $5,500 a month for her apartment. Well, she explained about that to them. She reminded them about all the money of hers that they had and that she would eat whatever she wanted. Thank you. Well, the next thing that happened, they changed the eating plan to a point system. And even with the point system, by the end of the month, everyone has noticed that when they go down to breakfast, there's not as much fruit on the tables to pick from. Even if they wanted to use all their points on it, it's just not there. Now, in this case, she and all of the residents have been affected by the facility being upset that she was eating so much fruit every morning. Now, I'm not sure that she could have done anything, but what I learned from this, and what I hope you learn from this, is even the small things, if you're going to move to a place, especially with that high of stakes, make sure that it's going to stay the same. Like, for instance, if she had said, okay, this is how I eat. And of course, they're going to say, oh, yes, no problem, ma'am. And I'm sure that happened because usually non-gluten vegans will do that. I'm sure they told her that. However, they didn't realize how much fruit she was going to eat. She needed to have it in writing that said that this is what you're guaranteeing me. You are guaranteeing me to eat the way I eat. You are guaranteeing that you will supply that for me. She didn't do it. And who thinks of something like that? So I am telling you, make sure, and this gets back to number one, the most important, make sure you know exactly what it is you want. Make sure that you've got as much as possible guaranteed to you by any place that you move to, whether it be, independent living or a 55 plus with their amenities. Make sure that it's all written down. Get your lawyer to look at it so that you know that it's not just written down, but in fact is legally written down so that you can be assured that for the rest of your life, you are going to have what you want and what you need in your retirement living. So, the three most important things are, number one, know yourself. Take a little time to know yourself a little more deeply. Doesn't require lengthy therapy. That's actually for other things anyway, but there are ways that you can do that. Number two, be really familiar with all the options that are available to you. And then what's available within those options. And learn how to ask questions. Do not be afraid to ask questions of salespeople. Make a really detailed list of everything you want to know and ask everything on that list. Then, number three, when you have it all done, get it all in writing and have it reviewed by your attorney. And that is going to make for a much better retirement for you. You'll be much happier. Now, if you'd like to hear more about these tips and other things, check out my website, yourperfectretirementliving.com, and you will get a preview of a course that I offer and some more information about what will be best for you in your retirement years. And I'm looking forward to seeing you next week. And be sure, if you have friends that will be interested in hearing this, be sure and tell them about it. And we'll look forward to seeing you all next week.
So I have a question, Margo. Okay. Yeah. So it turns out I was putting the wrong address on the bottom, but that's okay. Anyway, we'll sort it out. So we've been talking about options for people who move into either assisted living or independent living. Mm-hmm. But what if somebody wants to stay in their home? Yeah.
Thank you. That's what I chose to do, again, because it was the right thing for me. It depends again on where you live. It depends on how big your house is. It depends on the neighborhood. I am lucky enough because I bought where I live now when my 90-year-old father was living with me. So I bought a townhouse with two, which is very hard to find, two downstairs bedrooms. So that like right now I'm talking to you from the upstairs, but that was important. Some older people are like, okay, if their house is 2 stories and all the bedrooms are upstairs, they find a way to get upstairs. I mean, elevators are not that expensive anymore, or they can get one of those chair things. I had a friend who all their bedrooms were upstairs. He wanted to stay where he was because it was close to the grandchildren. It was close to shopping. It was close to everything. He wanted to like the house. Well, he and his wife had a dining room that they never used. So I said, well, if it ever got to the point where you can't go upstairs anymore, put the bed in the dining room. I mean, there's all sorts of options. But I do recommend that if you are starting to get, old enough where you're starting to feel that you're healthy, but you're not as, just not as able as you used to be, Dad died when I was still in my early 70s. I was in my 60s. Sorry, when Dad died, I used the grab bars that we put in his shower because why not? So you get accustomed to doing things like that, and you can hire gardeners to do the lawn work. And if you like to garden but hate the lawn work, you hire somebody to do the lawn work, and then you're free to do the garden. There's all sorts of people that are willing to help you stay in your house if that's what you want to do. And frankly, even with hiring people, it can be a lot less expensive than even because the 55 plus communities, they have lovely, lovely houses. They tend to cost more than the equivalent house not in a 55 plus. So so the money that you save by staying home, you can actually use to hire people to help you. So yeah, stay home. If that's what you decide is best for you, stay home. That's what I've done. I love it.
Yeah. Thanks, Margo. The other thing here is your first thing that you said is know yourself as you are now. I think in your course and your program, you have an exercise that helps with that. How does that work?
Well, it's just very simple. There's 4 steps actually. Someone takes the exercise, just basically writing down, really fantasies if they want. I mean, fantasies about what they think they want. And write them all down. And then I teach people how to sort that out. Once they've got the whole thing written, how to sort that out, and then how to apply that. For instance, when they're looking at all the different options, how to apply it. And that helps them when they get to the questioning part. It helps them, it helps them know what questions to ask. For instance, obviously the woman that I told you about who is a gluten-free vegan, I mean, I'm sure she talked to them about that. But if there's particular ways that you like to eat, that can be something that you ask people, salespeople. But you need to learn to ask a lot of questions that they're not going to answer.
No, that's perfect. So if you want to try this out, try the exercise, go visit yourperfectretirementliving.com, and Margo will be back next Saturday to answer your questions and do her presentation again. And and you can reach out, I think, through LinkedIn, and find her on LinkedIn, and
Well, I'm on LinkedIn. I'm also on Facebook.
yeah.
I have a page called Age Out Loud. And I also
Okay.
have a YouTube channel called Age Out Loud where I teach you a lot about what dementia is not and how not to be afraid of it, because it's really very likely something else other than what you think it is.
Okay, lots of places to go contact Margo and get some information about it. And anyway, thank you very much. If there are no more questions for today, then we'll go on and have a happy Saturday.
Yes, everybody, have a great day.